Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the FRS. We are here in round 3 with Division 2 for Season 8, and we are taking a trip to Mexico City. Here is the circuit, a very flat one, but 4.3 kilometers, around 17 corners to navigate, 3 DRS zones with just 2 detection points. That big DRS zone down the pit straight and immediately followed between turns 3 and 4 makes for some moves. It's only the second time that Mexico has been a part of the FRS calendar. We have taken a visit once on Xbox, but here are your action zones. The turn 1 through 3 complex, of course, that huge run down the pit straight to start the race definitely widens up, creates some action, and then the DRS zones later in the race make it big. And of course, with DRS zones, leads then into turn 4, where you get a second dose of DRS. If you didn't get the move done into the first complex, you'll keep that DRS, but if you did get the move done, you have a little bit of an extra chance to run away, as the next DRS zone is not far away from there. The 3 compounds of tires, as always, the soft, mediums, and hards. The mediums about half a second slower per lap. The hards about 9/10 of a second slower per lap. In this 36 lap race, 29 laps will be done on the hards, can be done. 26 on the mediums and 18s on the soft. Of course, those are kind of their maximum lives. You will see drivers do fair bit shorter stints in race conditions. But let's take a moment to look at the way that the championship is shaking out after 2 rounds in the books. Give it 1 second. There we go. Gali, on top, defending champion, is up in the lead by just 2 points over Spen. We've taken a big jump up with our podium finish in Austria. Franstuff down to 4th. Madsta, Dog, Zhao, O. Mendes, Robin, and Sienna Bob rounding out the top 10. Now let's jump on board for our first flying laps of the qualifying session. And crossing the start-finish line, the timer already going a little bit further down. Open up that DRS down this huge, long straight. It's about 800 meters from the pole position box to T1, so plenty of opportunity for slipstreaming on lap 1. Find the brake marker board just about the 100 meters. Turn it in, get the car rotated, and start getting on the power, accelerating out of turn 3 as early as you can. Opens up that second dose of DRS, and then on our blast down to turn 4. Tricky little left-hander, but not nearly as tricky as the right-hander that gets even tighter. Slows down, one of the slowest corners we've had all season. And then into this awkward kind of double apex hairpin. A little bit of a lockup caused us to go straight on, a little wide of the apex there. Now into the S is a quick flick left. Stay off this curb on the right, then you can kind of cut the inside curb on the left. And then if you get the line just right, you can go full throttle through that right-left combination, but just a tiny lift to get the car rotated. Short blast out of the DRS zone and into the stadium section, onto the baseball field we go. Hard on the brakes, this very clumsy little left-right combination. It leads on to the Peraltada, the final corner. Rotate the car, get on the throttle as early as you dare. The back end wants to jump away, trying to take the inside line to shorten it. A 17.7 for our first run of the day, only about 100 or a tenth off of that one kid's provisional time. We go back out, only 2.5 minutes left to go, or 2 minutes left to go in the session. 3. I can totally do math. I've been looking at spreadsheets there. 2.5 is 2.5. But we only are doing 2 qualifying runs this time. We're saving a set of soft tires for the race. So here we go into turn 1, this time taking the straddling approach to widen the entry into turn 1. We've got a little bit of a better run through turn 2 and 3, so we've made it up by having that little bit better of an entry. About 1.5 tenths found. We are sitting currently provisionally P10 at the moment. Now into this left-hander, a little bit of curb there, not the perfect line, but you do get a much better run through the right-hander, getting the throttle in, and a little bit better run through the hairpin as well, as we found a little bit of time, but our exit was not quite as good, so we're going to lose all the way down to starting this S section. So here we go. Have found about 3/10 on the lap. Get the car pointed right through that switchback. Open up the DRS. We don't quite have the momentum we had last time, but still improving. We did go purple in the first sector, so very quick. Now into the stadium, and it's all about getting it right. A little bit of a rear lock coming into that hairpin, just kind of dial it a little bit, and then the back end getting squirmy, so we've actually lost quite a bit of time through the stadium, but we're going to gain a little bit of it back as we take the tight line. It is provisionally P5 this time around, but we jump back out, and we've only lost the 1 position, so we are P6 to start this race here in Mexico. Both Alpines, both Red Bulls ahead of us. Franstuff in the Williams, currently tied on points with us is up in that top 5 as well. So looking forward to seeing what can come out through the rest of the race. You have Ipswich, Sienna Bob ahead of us, Mittens for Kittens, Pathaman, that one kid, and Bonhomie, our teammate, rounding out the top 10. Dog, a little out of position in 11th in the Aston Martin, a quick driver, as is Chronicle, who has had some bad luck this season. We've got 17 drivers on the grid today, and realistically just looking for a good result. So here we are on the grid. The medium tires to start in this one as the 5 red lights are up. And a decently long hold. The lights are out. We get a modest start. Sienna Bob has a little bit of a glitch in position, so we actually get a little better start than he does. We're into the slipstream. We're going to kind of hold this middle in kind of line just to not let anybody get up the inside of us. We're lifting and coasting very early into the corner and making sure, as you can see, side by side, the Alpines, the Red Bulls, all kind of jockeying position. We've got Sienna Bob on the back of us, so we have to not only make sure we don't run into the cars that are jockeying side by side in front of us, we also don't want to open the door for Sienna Bob to stick his nose through. We're going to see if we can follow maybe Gali through. He gets ahead of his teammate. Spen has the inside line. We're just going to let him take the racing line instead of being forced all the way off the track. Trying to play it safe on lap 1 as much as possible. Now through the area where the heavy fuel loads, the dirty air makes it a bit awkward to finesse your way through the S's, but we're doing a decent job so far. You have to lift quite a lot more in race situation than you did in qualifying, but we've got a good run out of there and into the stadium section. And we've managed to stay inside the top 5 to start this race. So not a bad way to get the race underway. We do still have Sienna Bob haunting at our heels, and has been a close battle across a few races so far. Of course, the incident in round 1 that came a cropper and took us out of the points after a big recovery. We did have to fight him several times in Austria before we managed to grab that podium position. But now we're starting to look ahead, see if we can't get ourselves involved with this battle for the front. The 2 Alpines, of course, running line astern in front of us, Gali and Spenwolf, who are both looking to be, on championship form this season already. So we'll see what they can do in the course of this race. We have managed to get a little bit of a gap to Pathaman behind us, who has overtaken Sienna Bob, and their fighting has dropped them about a second and change behind us. But we're just trying to stay with this lead pack. It looks like Fran stuff in the Williams, I think that is, running out ahead, as I think it's the Red Bull of Ipswich that is just ahead of us and the 2 Alpines. So big points on offer for Alpine today with a good result, and already out into a decent lead of the constructors. Mittens for Kittens out in the S is the dangerous area where you will see drivers crash out, and that is going to give us a full safety car already. 2 laps into this race, full safety car has been called. The hard tires will do about 29 laps, 30 if you're careful. So we are still a little early for the pit stop. So we stay out, as do many others, and here we are on lap 5 as we're about to go back to racing. Everybody kind of checks up and makes for a very awkward restart as we're waiting for everybody to get going. Pathaman got a little bit alongside us, had to back it up, has gotten a decent run, and is in the slipstream. We're going to burn a lot of battery in this situation to try and make sure that we don't get overtaken by Pathaman. We're going to have a little half defensive look to the inside. He's going to go kind of look to the inside. He's not going to get alongside, so we're going to go ahead and take the apex of turn 1, then pull fully ahead turn 2, turn 3, and that will give us a good exit out of turn 3, so it should give us a little breathing space on the braking zone down into turn 4. Spenwolf a little earlier on the brakes than we were, but we're leaving a nice healthy gap. Gali has gotten by Ipswich just ahead of us, so now it is Alpine, Red Bull, Alpine, and then us in the Mercedes. And Pathaman has closed back up to us after a little bit of a jumble through turn 1. The slowness of the little switchback section with that hairpin has cost us some time. We're not totally clean through the S's. A McLaren is off at the back. That'll be Cruzo, who has had a bit of a moment entering the S's. So far, it's just the local yellow, so we're not looking for any VSC or full safety car just yet. And Bonhomie, our teammate, on the soft tires has managed to close up into 7th place and is now going to be battling for Pathaman. At this stage, I was thinking if Bonhomie can get past Pathaman, I would be more than willing to let him slide by me and use up those soft tires. It would have been the smart team play, so I was definitely thinking about that as the race went on. A little bit of battling between Spen and Ipswich in front of us. Spen maybe getting a little bit of a look on the Red Bull, but darting back to the racing line ahead of the braking zone. A little bit of a wobble, maybe. It's kind of a little unclear if drivers were getting out of shape. It looks like they've gotten a good enough exit, but Spen has the run. Little contact side by side as they enter the braking zone. Spen trying to go around the outside. He's got his car along the inside. He's going to switch to the inside now as they're going to go side by side through the hairpin, and that is going to make it impossible for me to really dice my way through. I had a thought about trying to follow Spen up the inside, but it would create a side by side through the S's kind of situation, which is just always going to end in some tears. So discretion, the better part of valor. We tuck in behind Ipswich. A little bit of dirty air runs us wide. We don't get a great run, but Pathman also makes a mistake through the S's, so we are going to go ahead and hold on to P5 as things have been getting interesting ahead of us. Gali has actually opened up a bit of a gap because of the fighting, and now there's a big crash, it looks like, entering the stadium section. Looks like the dark blue dot, one of the Red Bulls, has had a bit of an issue. Dog is working his way past Pathaman, and DRS now is enabled. So we are going to keep our eyes on Dog behind us as this race develops. A quick driver, very aggressive, but also not the most consistent, is prone to some mistakes here and there. So we don't want to get ourselves involved in at this stage of the race, in a scrap with him. If he gets a good run, we'll probably just let him go if he catches up to us. He does have the benefit of a good 2 seconds worth of clean air. I am right up underneath the rear wing of Ipswich here, so we are just going to try and maintain. He's got a little bit of a bobble over the sausage curve there, and you can see we've already lost 4 tenths to Dog in those couple of corners. We are just trying to creep our way through as Ipswich not getting the best traction out of the corners. He's going to lose the DRS to Spenwolf and makes a big mistake on the curbing there, and that's really upset his line through the rest of it. We weren't quite in a position to make a move there. He's a little wide on the exit. DRS is open. We're having a look to the inside, but it is going to give him DRS down a big long straight if we are in front of him in the stadium. So I've actually backed out early to let him take the lead ahead of us. It has cost us some time to the Aston of Dog, this kind of gamesmanship of the DRS. So he's now within DRS of us, but instead of giving both of them DRS down this big, huge pit straight and then the straight from turn 3 to turn 4, I decided to back out into the stadium section, and we are going to swing it to the inside, use some of that overtake button, the slipstream, and we are going to get our move done up into 4th place, and we will have a second dose of DRS. The back end locks on us, and we can see sawing at the wheel to try and keep the back end pointed the right direction. Just a little bit more wear on the rear tires was starting to get into the area where we're going to need to make a brake bias adjustment, but we are up into 4th place, 1.7 seconds the margin to Spen ahead of us. Dog has made his move on Ipswich, so he is chomping at the bit to get past us. And like I said, I was watching this battle take place and was thinking, you know, if Dog gets on the gearbox, probably just going to be a let him through kind of situation. But yellow flags, as it looks like Gali, a mistake off the circuit through the S's. I did kind of look out, and Dog, it looks like a mistake as well. So nothing to worry about there. It does give us a 1.5 second bit of breathing cushion to Ipswich. Spenwolf handled the yellow flags much better than we did, as it is now a 2.2 second margin to the Alpine in front of us. But here we are, lap 9, a quarter of the way through the race. We are in the podium positions, although Ipswich really starting to come to life pace-wise on those medium tires. We had made some gap to him. So we're going to jump ahead now, lap 12 of 36, as we're coming into the stadium section. A VSC is called, and it would have been a good time, as you can see, just ahead of us. Spenwolf into the pit lane has managed to come and make a pit stop, as will Ipswich. Since my original strategy selection at the start of the race was to go long on the mediums, medium on the soft, I didn't have the hards queued up, so I wasn't able to take advantage of that VSC. So I just had to stay out because I was so close to the pit entry, and that has cost me. So we're going to jump ahead now, lap 16 of 36. Fran Stuff, who had also stayed out, was actually just past the pit entry, I think, as the VSC was called, so he had to stay out. He's making his stop off the medium tires, going to go on to the hards. At this point, I'm committing to the medium soft strategy. I'd saved a set in qualifying and was just kind of hoping that we might get another incident later on. We've already had a full safety car and a VSC at this point, but with brand stuff pitting, we are in the lead of the race, leading some laps here in the early going of the season. Of course, this is definitely a pit strategy lead of the race, definitely not a net lead of the race by any stretch of the imagination, but it always does feel good to see your name on the top of that timing tower. And of course, it gives you a little extra strategic knowledge, because instead of seeing, you know, the 2 cars ahead of you and the 2 cars behind you, you can see what all 4 cars behind you are doing gap-wise and tire-wise. Gives you a little bit, but you can see Ipswich has the fastest lap of the race on those hard tires. Spen only 5 seconds back of us, and at this stage, with the medium tires starting to fall off, he is close to 2 to 3 seconds a lap quicker than we are. So you'll see, especially in the stadium section where there's just not a lot of grip to be had on these very, very dead medium tires. And really, realistically, I need to take them a few laps longer in order to get onto the softs to go to the end. Is kind of my only gamble at this point. If I do the same strategy that they're on, medium to hard, it's essentially not going to gain me anything on them. So I need to just kind of gamble at this point, as they were able to make the smart pit stop. There's a local yellow, a red car off, but nothing coming. We're jumping ahead lap 20 of 36, and you can see already that is Spenwolf in the DRS, opens up that rear wing. We're not going to fight it. He's got much better tires than us. You see Fran Stuff 2.2 seconds back of us. Ipswich only 5.6 seconds back. Zhao is on the same strategy as us on those medium tires. Has been out since the start of the race. He's 9.9 seconds back. So we've got a modest margin to him, who is probably the car we are racing straight up at this stage. But we are still just kind of goal hanging and hoping for a VSC or a safety car that might afford us a cheaper pit stop. We are just about in the window where the softs can go to the end if a safety car or a VSC comes out. So we are thinking about that. And, the mistakes I made strategically in this race by not having the hard set, I think is going to be something I change going forward. I'll plug in my expected strategy at the beginning, but I will try and keep the right tires selected for the safety car strategy if it happens. So even though my main strategy would have been medium to soft, probably should have, after the first couple of laps, set the hard tire just in case in my MFD. That way I'd be ready to react, and then if I go past that pit window, I can grab those softs. But here we are, the pit window is open. We have Fran Stuff all over the back of us, and it's not one we're going to fight particularly hard. He caught us nearly into the stadium, so we did lose him a bit of time. But you can see Spenwolf already 2.2 seconds out ahead of us just after one lap. A VSC is called right at the start of the lap here. So we are hoping that there is a massive issue, but we're jumping to the end of lap, and you see safety car is ending. VSC is ending right as we pull into the pit lane entry. So we are going to have to make basically a full green flag pit stop. The mediums were done at this point. I was going to pit under green flag conditions anyway on this lap, so it would have been great if the VSC had lasted an extra 20 seconds or so to give me a cheaper pit stop, but alas, you can see Pathaman goes through, who took a cheaper pit stop. Bonhomie has gone through. He is on a 2-stop strategy, I believe, and now getting back up to racing speed, we have Dog and Gali both on the hards. 2 drivers that spun and were way behind us at one point, but Gali making his way through with the DRS on Dog. We do have these soft tires, which are nice and grippy. You can see Dog just kind of swinging wide, covering the exit, but we're going to get some serious drive. We are going to have the DRS assistance because we were within DRS when we came into the pit lane. So he's going to squeeze us to the inside, but we're going to get fully ahead, be able to open up the corner a bit. A little bit of rear locking as we were offline carrying some serious speed, and now we are going to be just a little bit stuck behind Gali through this slow section. The fresh soft tires, of course, being much better than the hards. And the other flip side of having to make essentially a green flag pit stop is if it had stayed VSC, I could have taken some extra time to warm up the tires properly. I had to just kind of send them full speed. But this time, Gali We have got the run on the outside. We're going to try and leave some space. There's a teeny bit of contact as he runs a little bit wide of the apex. We left him just about enough space. It was a little bit of a clumsy, only a half spin for him. Luckily, no damage for either of us, I believe, as Dog does sneak through. He's going to have DRS on us, so we're going to go ahead and deploy the battery, burn it significantly down the straight. We should be able to, based on my earlier testing and calculations, we should be able to catch up to Pathoman before the end of the race based on these soft tires versus those hard tires. So we should be in position to get back to the top 4. If everything stays the same. You see Alba Mendez goes fastest overall, 19.8, as he puts in a real quick lap on those soft tires that he just put on. But you can see we're already catching our teammate Bonhomie, and we've got 13 laps left to go in this race. We managed to get out of the DRS of Dog, so we can start just closing up to Bonhomie. We're going to try and conserve battery as much as possible over this part of the stint. We had to burn a lot of it just to make sure that Dog didn't re-attack us. He's if he's quick enough down the straight, he would have absolutely made a send down into turn 1 to try and take the position back if he had the DRS. We just had to make sure we were clear of him. But as we head into the stadium section, you can see down 3.6 seconds now, the margin to Bonhomie, 6.7 to Pathoman. So we've taken a decent chunk out already on this lap. Of course, as these soft tires continue to get eaten up and degrade, it is going to be a little bit tougher to make those chomps into the race. And Cruzo out of the race. A full safety car is being deployed. So we've only got a couple of laps on these soft tires. We have decided to stay out and not pit on these. There was the option to come in. Thinking about it here, in the end, I do end up staying out because we expect Pathoman and Bonhomie to pit 4 tires. We've only done a little bit of distance on these softs, and the only soft tires we have are used softs from qualifying. So I would estimate that the wear on them is pretty similar between the two at this stage. I think there's only about 6 to 8% of wear on these soft tires already. That have done some racing speed, and same with the qualifying ones that get a little bit more ragged as they get really pushed. So keeping an eye on and seeing what the front group does. It looks like front group both coming into the pit lane, so they're going to grab some fresh tires. We get going to hurry up on our Delta a little bit. Still, at this point, I was still considering making the pit stop. But essentially I decided to do the opposite of whatever the two in front of me did. Since they were coming into the pit lane, I decided to stay out for track position. Dog and Gali are going to come into the pits and get off the hard tires. We do have the opportunity to hustle now that we're going past the pit lane and get ahead of Ipswich. So we do get track position on him, but he's on the medium tires, which should come quite good. He was quite good later in the stints. But safety car in lap 26 of 36, 10 laps left to go in the race, just waiting for them to go, and Spenwolf does go. We get a decent launch off the corner compared to Ipswich, but he's going to have that slipstream on us. We're going to just dump as much battery as we dare, as it is a pretty short sprint through the final phases of this race. We keep an eye. Spen is on the mediums, Franstuff on the soft tires, so drivers that didn't have an extra set of fresh softs look to have gone to the medium tires with 10 laps to go, which is a decent choice. It's all going to be what you can do in the early stages. We've got Ipswich behind us, so we're just trying to stay ahead of the Red Bull here for the podium positions. We did get bailed out of our earlier strategy mistake. However, I think we would have been in much better shape if we had made that earlier pit stop. I think it ended up costing us probably about 18 seconds of race time, and then whatever pit stop time it was, just because I ran another 5 laps on the medium tires. Actually, maybe even a little bit more than that, losing about 2 seconds per lap. So a good amount of time lost in that situation, and then of course the cheaper pit stop the VSC would have done. But Ipswich picks up a time penalty behind us, jumps over the curb, picks up 3 seconds. So now, as we're dwindling down, becomes, if he makes his way past us, then we can maybe try and stick in his DRS. I'm burning as much battery as possible. Once the DRS becomes available to us, we need to try and stay with these front two, but their pace since the restart has been blistering. I've been really struggling to keep pace. Just those couple laps of tire wear difference that they had on me proved to be pretty significant, and I think they just really figured the track out. At that point, I was checking to see if if they were pre-used mediums that Ipswich had put on. I was kind of hoping maybe they had some wear, or maybe he had some wing damage, but alas, he's got fresh mediums on, and I'm already starting to feel some pain in these soft tires. Still have 8 laps left to go in the race, so still quite a ways to go in it. But we're trying to, as much as we dare, catch this lead pack. It's just about a second at the moment, but we're burning lots and lots of battery, and we're coming into my worst section of the track, which is the stadium. Very tricky part of the track with no assists on. Very easy to lock up through the small braking zones here. Very easy to wheel spin out of these 2 corners as well. So it is very tricky, and you can see lost 4 tenths in the stadium section. Came in at 9 tenths back and finished 1.3. So not a great one. We do manage to have Ipswich bearing down on us. We have a bit of a gap to Pathaman behind. So I'm kind of thinking in 2 ways. Either I need to try and stay with the DRS of Spenwolf, or Ipswich if he passes me. But also, I'm going to have some hurting tires by the end of this compared to the likes of Pathaman and Bonhomie TX, who came in for those soft compound tires. So I'm fighting for my life for a second consecutive podium based on Spenwolf's pace, Spen and Ipswich's pace at this point. I was saying it's probably unlikely that I will hang on to the on-track podium. Maybe I can hang into the DRS of Ipswich, but my tires will be in much worse condition towards the end of the race. So he's got his first dose of DRS on us now that it's been re-enabled. Coming into the stadium section, he's going to hit the brakes, be about 6 tenths back of us, but really good on the brakes entering the stadium, and now it's already less than half a second as we come through. So writing is pretty much on the wall with 2 DRS zones at the 1 detection point. And here he comes. I chose not to fight it, just wanted to try and save some battery. I tuck into the slipstream as soon as I could to try and get pulled along as much as possible. So darting to the right to catch some of that disturbed air behind him, but that's going to be disturbed air through these tricky little sections. He's going to get a second dose of DRS. I'm going to burn some battery to try and offset that with the battery and slipstream. I was able to hold about steady with his straight line speed with the DRS, but now we've got a tricky little technical section. He's on much better tires than me. You can see already losing a heap of time to the Red Bull as we come out of the hairpin now into the S's. Just need to try and stay within 1 second. Detection point pretty far down the S's. We are still there, so we are going to get this dose of DRS, but you can already see made up an extra 2 tenths, now 9 tenths the margin, and we really don't make a lot of ground on DRS entering the stadium. He's already got that 1 second margin to us. He's closed up to the back of Spenwolf, so now he is likely going to be getting DRS off of that Alpine. So that's going to be basically curtains for our hope at the podium. He should be able to, with 6 laps to go and much better tires, clear us pretty easily. So we're going to jump ahead to the start of the final lap. You can see Ipswich 6.4 seconds out ahead of us. Our tires just absolutely did the big old die. And Bonhomie started reeling us in. So starting the final lap, I managed to keep him just out of DRS in the stadium section for the first run, but he's got much better tires than I do at this stage. A few laps fresher of those soft tires. And I am just hanging on to whatever I've got. I've got basically no battery left, just need to try and keep him behind at 1 more DRS detection point. You can see some wheel spin coming out of turn 3, burning the battery. There's nothing in the tank, 5% left of that battery. And into this section at this point, having to be very cautious on the brakes because so easy to lock up with the tires, as worn as they were feeling really miserable going through that hairpin. You can see the car barely rotating, and now how much speed we're going to have to give up through this S section. Bonhomie into the DRS range of us, but it looks like we've actually gotten a better run through the S's. Maybe kept him just out of DRS range, burning our last bits of battery, headed to the stadium. On the brakes we go, turning in and trying to just get our way through these last couple of corners. You can see how much the car is struggling. Franstuff takes the win, and Bonhomie makes up about 3/10 in the last couple of corners. Zhao into the barriers at the end, and Bonhomie's going to finish 4/10 back of us, but we are going to manage a 4th place finish, a good 4-5 finish for Mercedes. However, Alpine with the podium is in a good spot there, so they're going to continue to grow their lead. But Franstuff takes the race win. Gali had a tough day, so it is going to cost him the championship lead. So earlier on, looking like maybe a chance at a podium in this race. Strategy wasn't great on my preparation. Should have had those hard tires ready to set, and then just overall pace at the end just got absolutely eaten up by the fresher tires. I don't know. I probably should have gone for the extra set of softs. Probably should have gone for that second pit stop because everybody behind me was pitting as well. So hindsight's 2020. I wanted the track position at the time. I didn't expect Ipswich to be that quick on those medium tires, but we do make up some spots from the start. Go from P6 to P4, nearly a podium, and our teammate finishes 5th. Path of Man, that one kid, Gali, Sienna Bob, and Oba Mendez rounding out the top 10, so only 4 points for the championship leader. Brionics and Zhao are other finishers. Dog, Cruzo, Chronicle, Mazda, and Mittens for Kittens all retiring in this race. But thank you all for joining me once again. We are headed to Portimao, Portugal for the next race. Should be a good one. I think we are going to be missing the 2 Alpines from the grid, so an opportunity for anybody to make some charges up the championship tables. But I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.